Hello, welcome. This is Babila Fofung. I am working on a game called Contest of Cards. This is for Fundamentals of Game Design by the teacher Dr. Weeks. So let's get into it. What is this game about? This game is a 2D turn-based symmetrical one-on-one multiplayer action game. All of this being built within the Unity engine. For reference for what similar games this has made, I have Card Wars as the main inspiration for the gameplay of this. Card Wars was a mobile game back I used to play as a kid, where you would have an entire deck of mythical creatures to fight the enemy with, and you had to essentially wipe out their deck to win the match. And that's very similar to how Yu-Gi-Oh is too. Now, the reason why I put For Honor on here is that's what the setting in the story is going to be mostly about. This game is essentially a war-torn world where knights, Vikings, and samurai are all trying to conquer each other. Now, I have always been a fan of both of these games, and I was just thinking in my head back as a kid, I've always wanted to make a game like this. Like, what would happen if I took Vikings, samurai, and knights and put them in a card game to fight each other? Wouldn't that be cool, right? Yeah. So that was kind of the main jump I had from this game. So let me actually get into the general gameplay. The general gameplay, at least for this, is going to be a 4x2 matrix you're fighting in, and your objective is to destroy the enemy's base in order to win, which I'm calling habitat cards in this game. Each player, each turn, gets 4 actions, and the timer, you only have 60 seconds to make all 4 actions happen, so there's not too much delay in the combat. Now for player functions, it's mostly going to be done through mouse input. You're going to be mostly picking and choosing cards from your deck. You're going to be placing cards back onto the field, and you're also going to be able to choose to attack, defend, or use a special attack for each stand card that you have out, just depending on how many turns you have left. Now, all the card types that I went over earlier, I have stand cards, spell cards, and habitat cards. Now, let's first start off with stand cards. Stand cards are the primary card players people are going to use to attack and defend your base and the enemy base. Now, the stars on the top are supposed to represent the amount of tiles they can attack, which I'll show you later, all at once. Their attack is, for this example, Mini Knight right here, he can attack at a base attack of 40, his stamina is 100, and his effect chance is 50 for him to get a critical attack. Now, I'm mostly just using like someone else's concept art for Honor. His name is Lemon Juice and he's on Pinterest. So this is like, I'm not trying to take credit for his art, but I'm just using this art as an example for me to have a stepping stone for what I want, what art I'm trying to use for my own personal game. So I'm no stealing there. And for spell cards are the cards that players want to use to make any actions towards your enemy base, or enemy stand cards, or even towards your own stand cards, depending on what its effect does. And the same star rule applies to spell cards as the spell cards as they do to stand cards, but they all have only a limited number of uses. You can only use them once, twice, 3 times in total. Now, every turn, you can only use each spell card once per turn, no matter how many number of uses it says on the card. And the damage, this is only special to this very Volcano spell card, is how much damage it could do at max. There's no buffing the spell card's effectiveness unless if a habitat can buff it. Now we move on to habitat cards. These cards are the things you really need to protect the entire way through the game. Now what they do is you have to defend it as much as you possibly can. They have a set amount of health, and if that health completely depletes, you lose the game. They have every single stand card will always have a passive. For this example, this Great Kingdom card has a 30% more stamina for all stand cards currently on the field, but if you let that card get below 50% health, that passive is now gone. So you have to prioritize protecting that stand card at all costs. Now here's my current like mock-up of what I want the game to look like. Like the top is the enemy, the bottom is yours. And for example, I have the health on this the health bar for both characters on the side on the right hand side. I have the card decks on each side of each opponent. But once these four turns are up, the screen will switch back to back to the current player, and it'll also show on the left hand side the current stand health. So you see this green highlighted stand card. The current stand health right now is 90, and when it sits because it's a 2-star and its attack is 50. What it can do is that since it's 2 stars, it can attack 2 tiles at once. So it can attack both of these 2 barbarian cards by itself in one turn, in one go. And then I could use any of these three other turns that I have left to choose a spell card or to use another stand card currently on the field to attack. Now, these are the intended features I want to implement to the game. For animations, I'm trying to make my own card flipping animations. And also unique attack animations for each spell and stand card, similar to how Card Wars had each smaller, more focused animations for each card. For local play, I'm trying to find a way to make the screen flip for local play to be possible. For deck variety, by the end of October, for the end of this month, I plan to create at least 5 stand cards, 3 spell cards, and 3 habitat cards that all have unique assets of art. So like I'm only using those art assets as an example. In the start menu, while it's not very high on my priority list, I do plan to complete it by at least the end of November.